Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Making Your College Choice QuestCast. My name is Zion, and I work as a program manager here at QuestBridge. And I'm very excited for all of our 2015 QuestBridge finalists who are getting a lot of college letters, making their college choice, which we all recognize is a very difficult thing at times. So hopefully this is where we want to be able to help and shed some insight on some of the decision-making processes that we went through. We'll go through introductions in just a moment, but I do want to just point out that for anyone watching live, as long as you are on Hangouts on air, and that's going to look a little bit different than YouTube, there will be a bar on the right where you can ask questions. And we will be looking at those questions, and you don't have to ask a question. You can upvote other people's questions, and we'll try to get through as many of those as possible. So let's just do some introductions. I guess, as I mentioned, my name is Zion. I've been working at QuestBridge for about 5 years. I did go to a partner school. I went to MIT, and it was actually before it became a QuestBridge partner. When I made my choice, I had not applied to too many schools, but most of them were local to my hometown in the Chicago area, and then a few outside of that area. I realized that I just wanted to go somewhere different in the country. And after visiting MIT, that really sealed the deal for me because it just felt like the right fit, and it felt like, for the first time for me, I was around a lot of people who were like me. Whereas in high school, I never really felt like I fit in, and there were maybe like a few people in my class who were like me and had the same interests as me, and who I could have, the types of conversations that you end up having like in a college environment. So that fit was something that I just really felt when I visited MIT. And it ended up being a really good choice. The first year was tough, and I think it's going to be tough for anyone. But once I found that that place, that group of friends and those activities that really mean a lot, and the studies that mean a lot, it felt like the right fit for me. So now I'm going to pass it on to the rest of our panelists to do their introductions.
Okay. Hi, my name is Christina, and I'm a freshman at Dartmouth College. I'm from Suwanee, Georgia. I'm a pre-med studying Chinese and Japanese in the Department of Asian and Middle Eastern Languages and Literatures, and I'm also studying chemistry. My main factors were definitely financial aid and primarily like the type of academic environment that I wanted. So I would define my fit as like a liberal arts college. I really wanted a liberal arts college so I could study chemistry to piano to computer science to whatever you really wanted to do and build your own interest and curriculum here. So, yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Gabe. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'm currently a pre-med sophomore at Brown University studying cognitive neuroscience. And I think that one of the particular reasons that I picked Brown was because I came and graduated from a high school that historically didn't send a lot of students to Ivy League institutions or really any QuestBridge partner school. So a huge component for me was finding a school that would really accommodate a student such as myself that probably needed some time to like catch up to the rigor or needed a lot of support academically to really thrive at such a rigorous institution. So I really valued Brown because having done research on the school, talking to students on campus, and then actually like applying and interviewing, like my entire process with Brown really showed that it had a lot more of a collaborative versus competitive nature. And the open curriculum, no GPA, like the fact that I can take any course that I want, pass, fail, really like made me want to go to a school for the sake of learning and not just to get a degree. So I think that Brown for me was just a huge fit because I felt it was the place that I could not only thrive academically but also personally.
Awesome. I'm Haley Dunbrack. I'm a junior at Northwestern University. I'm studying creative writing with a minor in history, and I'm also getting a certificate in integrated marketing. So I chose Northwestern because I really valued the education it was going to provide me. It's a well-rounded school, and that was important to me. I came into college not really knowing what I wanted to study, so being able to go into a school where our general requirements, they lend you to take a wide range of classes in a lot of different subjects, and I knew that that would help me succeed. I also loved a lot of the programs that I saw that were geared towards my interests. I was interested in literature and the humanities, and they had a lot of really great programs. And it was also really amazing that it was next to Lake Michigan, near the city of Chicago, but not directly in the city. And so I just really loved the location and the people that I met here.
Hi, so I'm Veronica. I live in Thornton, Colorado, and I go to Colorado College currently in Colorado Springs. I'm probably going to be a sociology major, and the reason why I chose CC was actually kind of funny because I always wanted to go out of state, but my family situation completely changed, and I decided that I wasn't ready to leave my family and go really far away. So I decided that CC was not too close, but also not too far away from home, and that was really important to me. But at the same time, because I went to a small high school, and being at a small high school, you get the focus that you need. Like for me, I got the focus that I needed, and BC is kind of like my high school was, and it's proved to be perfect for me because as we've gone through race issues and like that type of thing, I've been getting the support that I needed, even when I've like felt the most alone or like felt that I didn't have anybody. Like somebody always like pulls through, and there's always support here, and there's people that truly care about you, and that's something that's totally important for me, and I definitely don't regret that choice.
Great, thank you everyone. And I just want to really emphasize again for those of you watching this Hangouts on our live, please submit your questions on the right-hand side of the screen, and we'll be able to view all of them and try to answer as many of them as possible. So one topic I think is important to cover first is thinking about those of us who went a little bit further away from home and what that decision was like, and also what that conversation was like when you had it with your parents or with your family. One thing I do want to mention is that you might notice we're not mentioning the schools that we were accepted to but did not decide to go to. And that is a conscious decision that we're making. We're doing this on purpose. And that's because we know that everyone was admitted to a variety of schools, and we do want to focus on everyone having the right fit for themselves in the school that they do decide to go to. So, yeah, I just want to ask our panelists, what was it like to move away from home and like have that conversation?
So I can answer this question primarily because I feel that Albuquerque is very, very far from Rhode Island, and I remember in high school, one of the reasons why I was looking at schools so far away from home was because I had experience before I came to Brown away from home. So I took 2 college trips to DC and New York City, the sophomore and junior year of high school, respectively. And so after I had like gone outside my state and actually saw like the life in other like cities, I really became inspired by the opportunities, the resources, the people that I had the opportunity to meet by coming out here. So that really inspired me to look at colleges that were a little bit farther. And then once I felt comfortable to actually apply and send applications to these institutions, then I wanted to have that conversation with my parents and say, hey, I really love you guys, and family is very important to me, but this is the school that I really want to go to. These are the schools that I think I would do very well at, the schools that I really want to study, meet these professors, take these courses, and I think it made it easier for them since they knew that this was like a genuine interest and it wasn't a sort of like, oh, I want to get away from the family, but rather, it was just the right fit for me. Unfortunately, there weren't colleges that were that I really wanted to go to that were within close range. And so I think just having that conversation about the school that was right for me and not necessarily following like what the name of the school was, right? So it wasn't the fact that like, oh, Brown is prestigious and it just happens to be very far. It was more of the fact that Brown has an open curriculum and Brown has the concentration that I'm looking for. So that made it a lot easier for my parents to like, this is his choice, this is what he wants to do, he's right, there's no other institution nearby that has those components, and so I think that really made it a lot easier for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I could talk to that. I chose Northwestern because it was actually, of the colleges I was looking at, it was the one that was closest to home. I really wanted the education, the levels that it was going to bring, I really valued, but I wanted to stay in the Midwest. I've lived in the Midwest my whole life, so coming to Chicago and seeing how great it was, but also maintaining that location close to my home was really important to me. And then dealing with my parents, going back home is not always the easiest, but we worked out the cheapest and easiest ways to get home. There's a train station that goes straight from here to Kansas City, which means that if anything happened, I could take a train home because it's a lot cheaper of an option. And so that was really helpful in talking to my mom, at least saying, I am not that far away. It's only about an 8-hour drive, which if anything bad happened, I can get home. And I like being closer to home, even though I'm about a day away.
I can also add to that. I am from Atlanta, Georgia, so I would say that home is pretty far away, 3.5 hours by plane. And also Dartmouth is in Hanover, New Hampshire, so you need to ride a bus over to Boston to catch a flight there, so it just takes a long time to get back home. And I've only been able to go home once throughout my freshman year, but I feel like it's totally a great decision that I made because it's not about getting away from family, but I feel like in a sense it has enabled me to get even closer to my family, because you're always, they're like your support system that are always behind you through no matter what. And I make an effort to set time to Skype and call them and stuff. So as long as you set a specific time, even though your schedule is really busy and stuff, I feel like it's totally doable. And like Gabe said, if there's something that you really like about the college, it's you just see yourself thriving there, then I feel like just convincing your parents is not very much of an issue, and I'm sure that they will want what is best for you. So that's how I went in approaching talking to my parents about going to a school far away from home.
Yeah, and I think that brings up a really good point, that it is important to kind of set that expectation of how you are going to keep in touch with your parents, and also with your friends and your other family back home. I have moved a few times at this point since leaving high school, going to college, working, and I can say that they say distance makes the heart grow fonder, and I do think that it's true, as cheesy as it sounds, because it forces you to stay in touch with your good friends. You find out who your good friends are, and it makes you have that regular connection with your parents, whereas when you saw them day to day, you maybe just talked about just very day-to-day things, but when that connection becomes more limited, your conversations become more meaningful and become more deep, and you're both making that conscious effort. So I know other Quest scholars will just use FaceTime. Now we all have Skype, we have Hangouts, and you can show them your dorm, you can show them where you're going to class and what things are like on campus, and it's really good that you brought that up, Christina. We do have a question here. Someone asked. Let me select this question. So med at Brown so far, and I do want to know for all of you guys, how has your academic program been so far, and like if you talked a little bit about that was your consideration for, you can mention that as well. So if you could start off this one.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, actually, I entered Brown my freshman fall thinking I was going to go to law school, so I was more on the pre-law track. So I joined the mock trial team, and I was a witness on that. Uh, and it was interesting because I had the pre-law component, but I had done a pre-orientation program at Brown called Catalyst. And so most of my immediate friend group, the people that I was closest to at Brown, were actually pre-med. So I was in pre-med classes with them, but I was in the mock trial team with the pre-law students. So I kind of had the best of both worlds. And I noticed that the pre-med side at Brown was a lot more collaborative, so much more supportive in terms of my endeavors, which was ironic because I had heard that pre-meds were very cutthroat and competitive. But I actually have to disagree that that's definitely not the kind of vibe that I've had here at Brown, especially because the curriculum, I'm not going to lie, it's pretty tough, but that's the whole premise of Brown's education. But the students definitely make it very possible to succeed. We have constant study groups. It's very easy for me to drop my guard and have someone give me assistance, and so I appreciate that because while the pre-med life isn't easy, the support system here from the students and Brown as an institution really make it so much easier for me to actually go through it and survive. And so and on top of that, I also realized I feel a little defeated sometimes taking such intense pre-med courses when I feel that it's a little unnecessarily difficult. Until I actually test myself and take MCAT practice questions, or if I look at standardized questions and I see that I'm actually learning the material and I'm actually able to answer the questions, and so I see that Brown has actually done a very good job at educating me and not just being able to answer questions, but in the way I can think critically. So overall, I feel like Brown has definitely pushed me above and beyond my limits. But I have made some awesome friends along the ways. I have unlocked potential I didn't even know I had, and it's really inspired me to continue challenging myself and not to be afraid of those challenges. So that's all I have to say. But if you guys have anything else,
I can talk a little more about pre-med here at Dartmouth because I'm a pre-med student here. So specifically at Dartmouth, I agree with everything that Gabe said. The pre-med curriculum is definitely not easy in terms of the class load and all of the requirements that you need to take in terms of getting into medical school. I was pre-med when I entered the college, and I'm still pre-med close to the end of freshman year. But the most important thing is not to be scared of, the intro classes are, of course, going to be, some of those classes that will require so much work, and, it's really much of a test about, are you really committed to being a pre-med? And I know a lot of students want to be pre-med or pre-law and go in to the college and change their mind because they find something that they are more interested in, or perhaps, find very much of an interest in here specifically at college. And I feel like you should just let yourself test that, go with the flow. Don't let yourself, be clouded and oh, I am going to be pre-med, so I'm going to be pre-med all the way through. Do not think that. Be flexible about yourself. I mean, you might end up doing what you wanted to do in the beginning, but just feel free to explore. And I know that, for example, how Gabe was talking in Brown, they have they're free to take whatever curriculum. Similar idea in Dartmouth and many of the liberal arts colleges that QuestBridge is partners with. So just take advantage of that. And any other colleges that you choose to attend to, just take advantage of all of the opportunities. I actually came in not as a Chinese and Japanese major. I just knew that I wanted to do pre-med and something engineering, but ended up that the language program here was so great that I was like, okay, I really need to pursue languages here, and I am absolutely loving it. I'm very much still involved in the engineering component just outside of the classroom, which I feel is very important too. There's a bunch of undergraduate research opportunities, so don't limit yourself and think, okay, I just need to do engineering, so I want to take classes for engineering. There's plenty of opportunities for you to explore outside of the classroom. So those are the things that I felt from the 3 months, 3 terms that I've been here.
I totally agree with Christina. Be flexible with what you're going to study because I had no idea, which is one of the reasons why I came to CC because we have the block plan, which is like 3.5 weeks. We just take one class, and we do that. We just focus and delve into one class every 3.5 weeks, and that's been so different, and it's challenged me so much because I think for a lot of students, like we don't really feel challenged during high school, and then we go to college, and it's like, to me at least, it was like a whole new world, and that's when I realized that my writing was horrible, and like but it's challenged me to become better, and being in one class at a time has challenged me to be holistic at the same time, focus on other things, because you only have one class. For example, like we are allowed to, like everybody has kind of the same schedule, so all of the activities, all of the clubs are pretty much made like for us, instead of us having to go around, like make our schedule around those activities. It's like the other way around, which is what I love so much about it. And even though it's been really hard academically because it's so fast paced, and like right now I'm taking a language, and it's like it's very intense, and but it's almost over, and I know so much. I took German for 2 years, and I've only taken Arabic for 2 months, and I'm pretty sure I know Arabic way better than German. And it's just like that type of thing, and I love it so much because it's challenging, but it's the best feeling when you realize how much you learn, and it doesn't go away. Like it seems like it would be, but it really doesn't.
This kind of leads into another question that we have. So, Veronica, you mentioned that Colorado has the school system where you have classes for 3.5 weeks, and you only focus on that one class, and that's definitely very unique of Colorado College, and none of our other partners have that. But we also have this question that asks, for Haley, how difficult was you to adapt to Northwestern's trimester system? Do you think that system increases stress among Northwestern students as opposed to schools with 2-term systems? And I know, Christina, at Dartmouth, you guys have a trimester system as well.
We have a quarter system, yeah, but very, very similar in terms of the fast-pacedness, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe Haley, you can start on this, and if anyone else wants to add something about like the year-long schedule of their school, feel free as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Was actually just going to talk about that. The quarter system at Northwestern, it's a lot more fast-paced. And for those of you who don't know what it is, instead of 2 semesters, we have 3 quarters each year, and you typically take 4 classes each quarter. And as for the academic stress, it definitely is there, and as a freshman, the fast-paced quality of it was a little hard to get used to, but it also is different coming into college because your homework load is not as much, it's more your study load, so that took some acclimating for me, but what really drew me to the quarter system, and when I was applying to schools, I actually looked specifically for schools with the quarter system, is that it allows you to take a lot of classes in the same amount of time, because I knew I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I also knew that I wanted to probably study more than one subject. And the first 2 years at my school, I flip-flopped between majors. At one point I was thinking computer science, another point I was thinking, well, maybe it'll be comparative literature, and I took classes in all of those majors and in all of those subjects, and even after I decided on creative writing with the minor in history and the certificate in marketing, I'm going to be able to graduate a quarter early if I wanted to. I'm actually not going to, but I could if I wanted to, so it just, that gives me a lot of freedom. It gave me a lot of ease in switching between things. I didn't feel like I needed to know what I was doing right away, and the stress is there, but as long as you acknowledge it, and I found the people on campus talking to them about it, it really has never overwhelmed me to such a degree.
I can also talk a little about the quarter system here. So a little bit different from Northwestern system. Quarter system has 4 terms. So there's a fall, winter, spring, and summer term. And Dartmouth is a little bit, they're a little bit special, I guess, aspect of the quarter system is that sophomore summer is an on term. So like all of the sophomores are on term for their summer for sophomore year, and I find that very very unifying in terms of class, like class of 2019 all here on campus at the same time, and it's just us, so that's great. But in terms of stress, yes, it's very fast-paced. It's a 10-week, so it's a 10-week schedule. So you're taking 3 classes per term for 10 weeks. So perhaps, you know, other classes such as like organic chemistry or something like that, they split into 2 terms because it's simply impossible to cover all of the material in 10 weeks. But I feel like what Haley said, you can take so many classes because you're taking 9 classes per term or per year, and also you have the option of taking 4 if you would like. So this quarter I'm taking 4 classes, one of which is piano lessons. So like that is something extra that I really wanted to do, that I'm getting credit for, that makes me you know, keep up with my piano playing that I really liked during high school. So I think it's just what you make out of it, to be honest, which can be applied to any situation in college. First off, it's going to be really difficult for you to just adjust because it's so fast-paced. Like, just in the fall term, I felt that I was taking 3 humanities courses in 3 different languages, and I was so swamped, and I was trying to get adjusted with the social life, like the vibe that I feel from getting far away from home, and how to balance all my studies and what extracurriculars should I join, like who is my friend group, and all of these things coming down all at once. But you get used to it. It's definitely doable, and it's actually very fun. Fast-paced. I like really fast-paced things because it really challenges you and tests your limit, and we're all super motivated students, so I really personally enjoy it. And one last note, I did not purposely, pick a college, because it's quarter system or trimester system, but coming into it, I don't think you should be really scared of it. It's definitely doable.
So one more thing I do want to make sure we talk a little bit about, I don't see a question about this, but I know it will be applicable to a lot of our students, is financial aid. So for any of our panelists, if financial aid was a factor for you in making your college decision, and how to make that decision on financial aid, because those financial aid packages are not easy to understand, and students shouldn't expect to open them up and immediately understand everything. So how to take advantage of resources and to make sure that they fully understand their financial aid package before making their final decision.
I can speak to that. So when I was accepted to Northwestern, I was really excited, but the biggest factor was, will I get enough money to go there? And when I got my award letter, it looked promising, but I was still confused about a lot of the things on it, and my mom had no idea. I was the first kid to go to college in our family, and so we just didn't have the knowledge of it. And so what really helped me was, just sitting down with my mom, looking at the aid and sparsing it out, moment by moment by moment, and then also just bugging the financial aid office. So that's really helpful. But even if sometimes they may be a little vague in their answerings, trying to find students that go to the college you're looking at. I know that for Northwestern, we try and reach out to our incoming students, and if they have any questions, we strongly encourage them to ask QuestBridge Scholars at Northwestern for any questions that they may have about if tuition's going up, if they're worried about their EFC. So yeah, just looking at it, concretely, talking to the administrators, but also talking to students that already go to that college.
I think my situation was a little bit different, but I think it's really important to look at what they mean when they say need blind versus like that type of thing, whether they actually cover all of your need. Because one of the reasons why I chose not to go out of the state was because when I looked at my financial aid package, even though they said need based, it still didn't cover everything, like stuff like insurance for me, because I'm a DACA student, which means I lived my life undocumented, and now I have a work permit, but it doesn't really give you the benefits that a normal citizen or a resident would have. So like for me, like having student insurance was essential, and like you also have to pay for that if you don't have it. Traveling back and forth, buying supplies, like that type of thing, sending your clothes to to another college. Like I feel like those are very small things. However, I've seen like a lot of my friends struggle with that as well. Like obviously, like that's only something to take into consideration, not something that should limit where you go. But it's definitely important for you to understand that, to definitely, like Haley said, push the financial aid office on exactly what they mean when they say need-based and that type of thing, and how far that goes, and etc.
Yeah, I want to just like reiterate like what Haley and Veronica is saying, because I feel that similarly, when I received my financial aid awards, especially from Brown, I was very excited to see like the difference between like an in-state tuition and like an Ivy League tuition, just solely on financial aid. But it was very confusing to me because I was seeing a lot of terms and breakdowns that was very foreign to me. So I remember calling Brown and having a financial aid officer explain to me like what the letter meant, and I really encourage all of you to please do that. Like, I know it's probably very scary, and you may feel that they don't want to talk to you, but trust me, they do. It's their job, and you can really clarify like the meanings of some terms that you might be seeing on the letter. If you guys don't know what unsubsidized versus subsidized loans means, I think that's very important because it might be a component of your financial aid, which is also another thing to consider, right? The aspect of loans, like how does your school provide additional support outside your financial aid? And I think even that for me, so once I like understood the letter, then it was having a conversation with the financial aid at the institutions and seeing how like how responsive some of them were. Like if they were kind and cordial, like yeah, I'll take like an hour and a half out of my day, or like some offices were honestly very annoyed that I was calling, and it's like I needed to have a very like amicable relationship with the financial aid office, because that phone call was not going to be the last contact I was going to have with them as a low-income student, at this very expensive college going out of state. So I think that's a huge component as well. So please contact financial aid. Like you won't regret it.
Yeah, that's a really good idea, because oftentimes a lot of our QuestBridge partner schools do have someone in the financial aid office who is dedicated to QuestBridge finalists. As you guys know from applying through QuestBridge, we ask for a lot of financial information as we ask for academic information, and that is all things that our partners look at in determining qualifications. So just like they have people at admissions who are thinking about admissions from the QuestBridge perspective, there are also people thinking about financial aid from the QuestBridge perspective. So they're used to a lot of questions. Anyone is going to have a lot of questions about financial aid. It is extremely confusing for anyone, and there's a lot of terminology. You're not expected to know all of it. So I think contacting the financial aid office is a really great idea. And like Gabe said, there probably will be multiple conversations, and they're perfectly open to that and expecting that as well. So that's a really great resource. They're also going to be there for you throughout your time in college as well, because you're all going to have to fill out the FAFSA and the CSS profile every year, right? That's not just something that you fill out your senior year of high school. You'll fill it out every year, and the financial aid might change a little bit every year. So make sure you're asking things like that. How might this change? Veronica mentioned insurance. In some schools, the insurance is not part of the financial aid package. So if you don't have insurance covered from home or from a parent's job, make sure you're asking about that. And there are always just other hidden costs that you can ask about, getting involved in student activities, dorm fees, there just might be other things that you really need to keep into consideration and budget for as you're getting ready for college. So it never hurts to ask these things. And you can ask the financial aid office, and you can ask students who have similar packages and have dealt with these things already too. So I want to select this question. I like this question. So what is some advice you would give to a student going to a college out of state? We had a lot of votes on this question, and I know some of you talked about making that decision to go to school far away from home. So if you have anything to add about that one, let us know.
I can take this. I can. So I think, I don't really want to sugarcoat anything because, I feel that by doing so, it's going to make it harder to adjust. So the first night for me at Brown, I actually did cry because, I had a very close relationship with my family, and it was just so surreal that I was a college student, and I didn't feel ready. Like, there wasn't this like moment where I would was a week, that I was like, oh yeah, I'm about to go to Brown. It was like one night I'm at home, the next I'm at Brown, and I can't go back home because now I'm at Brown. So it was really emotional for me. But the next day, having like conversations with all these other students that also were away from home was so amazing to like hear their story and connect with them, and being able to like explain like where we came from and like really like rely on one another to survive, and then realizing that I would not have met these people if I didn't go out of state. So the whole point about this is the fact that I think going out of state is a once in a lifetime experience. I think college in general is amazing, but I feel that by going out of state, you expose yourself to a lot more opportunities that are out there, a lot more people that you otherwise won't meet unless you like actually go to those institutions or you go out of state. And I honestly would not trade the relationships that I've made here at Brown or the experiences that I've had for anything else. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm still like tied very closely to my family, and I call them once a week when I can. When I try to go home as often as possible, and it's always super meaningful. But I will admit that perhaps, and it's not an understatement, and it's not a cliche, but I think going out of state is the best decision that I've ever made in my life, because I think I've learned so much more about myself, and I've grown in many ways that I can guarantee you is as a result of me leaving my hometown and experiencing this new culture. So yeah.
Yeah, I would echo everything that you said. My first week here, it was hard. I miss my home so much, but adding to that, I am a person who, if I'm close to home, I want to be home. And so forcing myself out of my comfort zone, forcing myself to be at a place where I can't just go home if something bad happens, it really helped me grow. I feel 10 times more confident of a person than I was before coming to college, and that just grows every year. And learning to put yourself in uncomfortable situations at times can be really helpful. It can help you grow as a person. And I would just echo, maintaining that contact with home is really important. Sometimes you need to get off campus, go somewhere else, and just call your mom, call your dad, call your sister, your brother, and talk to them for an hour and just tell them everything that's going on and maybe cry. That happens to me often. And so I think recognizing the growth that's going to happen from it, but also understanding that your family, or even if it's maintaining contact with your friends, they're going to be there, and you have ways to contact them.
And then I see another question that I also really like. So this question is about admitted student stay. So what do you think are important things to look for during an admitted student stay?
I can probably start on this. So today is actually the first day of Dimensions at Dartmouth, which is like the admitted students day. So it started today, and I'm seeing a lot of 20s. Very great. I'm really happy for them, and But one thing to look for is probably talk to as many people currently attending the college right now. That is, I think, the best thing that you can do. Of course, you can, go look at, how the campus is like, and, go talk to some professors about, they have events for incoming students, like you can go talk to department's chair or like something like that to ask them if you have any questions about the program, how the major is built, etc. But honestly, you need to go to a place where you can feel connected with the people, because they're going to be there for you when you're going through hard times, when you're going through good times, whatever. So people are very important, and I think that's the reason why we come to college too. I mean, yeah, we're being academically enriched, but like Gabe said in the previous question, it's about the people, who you meet, what kind of opportunities those people lead you to. So just talk to as many people that you can, of course fellow 20s, to see who's in your class, upperclassmen to get advice on, or little perks on, like what to do in which situation, because every campus is different and unique. So just talk to as many people as you can to get a feel for really how the college is run and how you see yourself thrive at the college, because the people can really tell you.
I think also try to go to every open house with a really open mind, because it might not like be your first choice. But it's still, an opportunity that you have that other people may not have to visit a school and talk to people. Not just, I think also besides like their experiences, but also like how the college handles like the worst situations, how they handle you needing help, how they handle race issues, how they handle like those type of things that honestly for as a student it is very important, because you don't want to feel left out, especially whether you're first gen or come from a lower resource background. Like it is going to be important in college how the colleges handle that situation, and you just want to make sure that students can truly tell you like what that means. And sometimes it's not going to be you're not going to talk about the happiest scenarios, but it's still like something that you should know, and so you know that you're truly doing what's best for you.
Yeah. Also, like one thing that I feel that a lot of students don't really do at Admitted Students Weekend is visiting professors, because these are the people that are going to be instructing you during your time. And my senior year, I actually had to work on an important Japanese project for my class. So I had contacted this random Japanese professor that I found in the Brown directory, and introduced myself, saying like, hey, I'm Gabe. I'm an admitted student. I'm going to be at ADOC, and I really need to work on this Japanese project, and I was wondering if I can get some help with you. And he was like, yeah, sure. Come on by. Like, yeah, you're not a student, but if you're visiting, I have some time. And I think that was really cool, because I think that was an opportunity for me to actually like work one-on-one, because totally unrelated, but when you go to college, utilize office hours. And that for me was an experience for me to see, like, if I were a student at Brown and I needed help on something and I asked my professor for help, how quickly would they respond? So that was an experience to me that really was like, wow, yeah, like I am in love with the faculty here at this institution, not just putting up this facade for the admitted students and trying to look their best. It was completely off guard. This professor had no idea that an admitted student was going to reach out to him for help on a project. So I highly encourage you guys, utilize the page. Feel free to contact people that you already know are there, or like ask if you can meet them, have some coffee, because I think that it really will add some value to the experience.
And there's a question right now related to this. Did any of you make your decision without visiting the college, or do you maybe know anyone who made their decision without visiting the college?
I actually, I visited, but I have a lot of friends who came without visiting. I know a lot of fellow QuestBridge scholars who came without visiting, and I don't know that I have a lot of personal advice, but I know that there are plenty of people on campus who don't have an opportunity to visit the college, and something that helps is a lot of campuses will put out videos, online tours, guides, and as for getting a feel of the campus, reaching out to students on Facebook, there's a lot of groups on Facebook for either admitted students, or if there's a group of current students, like if you can contact the QuestBridge students that are there, because they'll often have a Facebook group, reaching out to them and saying, hey, I can't visit, but could you give me some advice? I think that would be really helpful.
Yeah, that's a really good piece of advice. And related to that, we do have chapters of Quest Scholar Network chapters. And these are our chapters of QuestBridge Scholars at each of our partner colleges, and I know a lot of you are involved in that as well. And you know, we have the names of all of our liaisons on our QuestScholarsNetwork.org website, and our liaison is the selected leader of each of our QSN chapters. So they kind of represent the students there. They're the main communicator between the students and between us here at Quest HQ. And they help these students organize social events, community service events, and also take advantage of resources on campuses. And a lot of them, you know, like have mentoring and feel like they're really a family on campus. And that's what we hope the QSN is there for our students. And you know, it's a community that's there waiting to welcome you on campus for those of you who are going to college next year. So this does lead into our next question, which is how has going to a QuestBridge school affected your experience? And that might be about the Quest Scholars Network as QuestBridge Scholars, or maybe relating to having support from the administration or financial aid. So I'll let our panelists take this one.
I can talk a little bit about the QuestBridge Scholars Network. So one very big advantage of being a QuestBridge finalist and attending a QuestBridge partner school is that you have this, not pre-established in a sense, but you have this solid group of people that went through the same, you know, application process, the college admissions process, and finally gathered together at the finish line at a college, you know, like, yay, we're QuestBridge finalists and we attend the QuestBridge school. So I feel that in a sense, you already have a group of people that know your situation and can definitely help you academically, socially, whatever capacity, and everything that college entails. One special thing, for example, like just as an example, this may be contingent upon which network that you are a part of, but we have like this textbook share kind of Google Doc where, you know, textbooks are so expensive here at college, and like Veronica was saying, you know, the hidden costs, like textbooks are definitely one of them. So what we do is we try to make the best out of, you know, like upperclassmen that already took the class. We like share our textbooks, and so it will definitely decrease the cost of your attendance in the college, especially going to an Ivy League college is very expensive. So we try to accommodate as much as possible and to loosen the burden of many students. Just one example is textbooks. But besides that, just a community like bonding. We do bonding events and different meetings, movie showings, etc. It's really whatever community and whatever culture that is present at the partner schools network. So I feel like just having that solid group of people, all 4 grades, you know, freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior, so you don't have to really feel afraid if you have a question. You know, you can go to an upperclassman in the network and say, hey, you know, I have this question on this class. Should I take this class? How is this professor? You know, everything. You can ask them anything, and they will be happy, more than happy to answer anything that you have. So it's just a solid group of people that you can just reach out to. And I found that the most helpful here on campus, because no matter what size your school is, it's still very intimidating, you know, to go talk to every single person and try to ask for help and stuff. So it's just a great opportunity that you have as a finalist.
Something else that the Quest Scholars Network on my campus, they do a lot of work in advocacy. So things are not perfect anywhere that you go. I know that on campus, like, there are certain things that are harder for people who are low income or first gen to have access to. And even these last few years, we've worked a lot with our associated student government, or just working on like letting people know that we're here. And to get a lot of things changed, it's made a lot of things easier. Certain student groups that have fees to get into them have started waiving those fees for students who may need it. And it's really amazing to see an organization that you're a part of working to help you directly. So that's another thing a Quest Scholars Network can do on your campus.
Yeah, I agree with both Haley and Christina. One thing about Brown is we're very, I think that recognizing that, a lot of people apply to Quest and some weren't finalists, but may have still gotten into a partner school. And I think with Brown, we really try to open it up not just to the people who were a part of the scholarship program, but are low income in general, because the whole idea is, what it means to be at these prestigious institutions that don't have a high number of students that come from our socioeconomic background, and creating this sort of safe space and safe environment of people that you can speak to that understand the struggles that you went through, can really empower you socially and academically at these places that feel like they're bringing you down. So I really see a lot of that sort of, empowerment within the QS and at Brown. It's about, if you're a Quest Scholar, come join us. But if you know friends who are low income, please, because it's about creating a community of people who all have the same goal and come from similar backgrounds. And so I've noticed that QuestBridge here at Brown is trying to really outreach to all the Quest Scholars on campus, but also trying to be interdisciplinary with other groups, so the Gates Millennium Scholars, or another unique financial scholarship at Brown called the Sidney Frank Scholarships, or the First Gen community, since there seems to be a lot of individuals who are not only low income but also First Gen, just so to increase the number, and also with echoing what Haley said is really advocating for those students, right? So the more support, the more voice, the more assistance these students get, and I think that through that Brown has really caught that. So they've increased. I was really amazed to see that 61% of students for the class of 2020 are receiving financial aid. A lot more students are able to communicate with their advisors, and I think that a huge part is because of QuestBridge, is because of the students who really are advocating for all these students to create not only a better experience, but also to create a strong foundation for future generation of Quest Scholars.
For sure. I love what Gabe said about empowerment, and I think that's one of the biggest things that I love about being part of the QuestBridge chapter, because not only is the group empowering other people, but also I feel like it empowers you to do something about your community in college, but also build bridges with other groups, with other people. For example, because we are a very low resource community for the QuestBridge chapter, we have started alumni networks, that type of thing that we don't really come into college having access to, and that's just it makes me want to do something as well, and this gives you the power to be able to do that, a safe group that can help you, that can help you navigate the whole process of trying to do something on campus and for other students who also need it.
Great. And then I wanted to go back a little bit to our discussion about financial aid, since there was another question that was upvoted a lot. Do any of you guys do work study? And let me just select this question. So do any of you do work study, and can you say a little bit about what you do and how it fits into your schedule? I think this is a really important question because built into a lot of financial aid packages is the work study component.
I mean, I could start us off. I do have work study. I've had it all my time here. And I started off in a job that had me working really late at night, which was helpful for not having to get in the way of classes that I had. But it ended up that it was taking a lot of my studying time away. It was a little stressful, and honestly, I wasn't getting paid the full amount. And so even though I liked the job, I liked what I was doing, it came to a point where I realized that I really needed to, I was allotted a certain amount, I needed to make that. So then I started working at an office that operated during school hours. So it was a bit more difficult to maneuver between classes, but honestly, if they're an office that hires work study students, they're going to understand that you're here to make money, but you're here first to go to school. And so I think that's really important, and making sure you get the hours that you deserve, because this is money that is for you to help you, and don't be afraid to take the hours, but also like I did, you need to place your work before that, because if work study starts to get in the way of everything you're doing, it can just be very stressful. So that was my experience. It can be very fun too.
I can talk a little bit about work study as well. because I am working here on campus. I think one very important point that Haley made is you gotta like what you're doing. In the financial aid package, some students are assigned a specific slot for work study, which is what happened to me, and those cover your like miscellaneous fees in terms of, you know, like if you want to fly home, if you so the textbooks that you need, so those will cover those costs. And I feel like it's very helpful to have that, because it's, if you pick a job that you really like, for example, I work at an undergraduate lab as an undergraduate researcher. So you're working with graduate students who are PhD candidates and stuff like that, and you're really immersing yourself into the outside world that you are interested in working in, you know, perhaps. So you're getting paid while you're doing something that you're really passionate about, which makes it, you know, double the greatness, because you need the money for, you know, traveling and other miscellaneous costs that are called for when you're attending college. But then again, you're getting professional experience that perhaps, if it's important to you, you can put on your resume. You can, you know, you can get connected to other people through that work and stuff. So just make sure that you're utilizing it to the maximum capacity, and that you're picking jobs that you're really interested in that will help you develop professionally, academically, and also network purposes or anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good resource. It does lead into the question, another question we have for those of you in the sciences: what are opportunities for undergraduate research, like at your schools? Can undergrads get published? And I know that at MIT, one thing that they're really known for is the Undergraduate Research Opportunities Program, where the school has funding set aside specifically for undergrads to do research in labs. And that makes it a lot easier to find a position in a lab, because if you didn't have that, you would depend on the professor having extra funding so that they can pay a student to work on the lab. Or you would do it for credit, or you would do it just as a volunteer, and sometimes even that is difficult to find. So having that resource, or even having work study like Christina did, is a really good idea. Like she said, it's a double whammy. You can have a work study job and get undergraduate research experience, potentially get published. At MIT, a lot of undergrads I knew got published. A good rule of thumb in the sciences was if you were able to produce an image for a publication, because generally I was in biology, every section of a biology paper is determined by an image that shows a result. So for a lot of professors, if an undergraduate was able to contribute to one of those images, they would have authorship on one of those papers. That's very specific to biology, to sciences. I do want to point out as well, for work study, it's really important for people to know that work study is very much on your own. Like, there is not a job waiting for you on campus. There isn't someone who's going to say, here's your job, here's how you go find it. There is a work study line on your financial aid, but you have to take that initiative and find the work study resources on campus. Whether it be, you know, I worked at the front desk of my dorm. People worked in labs. People worked in the admissions office, giving tours to students. So you have to go and find that job, and you have to make sure that that amount on your work study portion is covered, because there isn't going to be someone like watching you and saying, oh, you didn't get a work study job. Like, you have to do that on your own. So that's it's hard to it's hard for that to click sometimes, because you see it on your financial aid list, but it's something that isn't actively given to you. But about the research part, is there anything else? Do any of you guys have experience in terms of like the research and getting published at your school?
I can talk a little bit about my research very briefly. So I work at this molecular biology lab, which is associated with Thayer Engineering School here at Dartmouth. And I did recently get a very big project that is an individual project. And many schools have this. They have like research scholarships for students, so you can apply for those and you can get funding to research where you can do it over the summer, you can do it part-time during your term or semesters. So it really depends on how, like you just said, like how much initiative you have. Because I mean, there's a couple of programs here on campus, like Women in Science program, where they match you up with a mentor if you fill out, like a form and write an essay about what your interests are and stuff. But I never really went through those programs. What I did was I directly contacted the professors. And I can speak on behalf of contacting professors. Like, it may be a little bit intimidating in the beginning, but if you don't throw yourself out there and say, I'm really interested in what your lab is doing, or what research you're doing, then you will never know whether that professor has funding or doesn't have funding. Because the worst scenario is that they say, oh, we don't have space for an undergraduate student. Then you can try again and ask somebody else. So I actually got in touch with my professor that I'm researching under just through email. Like, I just shot him an email and said, hey, I'm really interested in the work that you do. Do you have a space for an undergraduate student? And he was like, yeah, sure, just come on in and tell me about your experiences about the lab and research in general. So it's just make yourself comfortable with reaching out to people that you don't know, that you've never met, especially professors, because it's totally okay. A lot of people do that. And like a little bit on what we talked about before, like I saw the line on work study, and in the beginning I thought I was going to receive that money whether or not I worked, but I called the financial aid office and they said, nope, if you don't take advantage of that work study, then you won't be getting the money. So I made sure that I take full advantage by seeking this research job. So it's, just make the initiative and it will be great.
We're really close to running out of time, so I just want to give the rest of our panelists one more chance for kind of one more bottom line that you want to say to any of our students. Anything? Okay.
I really
No, go ahead, Gabe.
I really encourage you guys, regardless of what schools that you guys are debating on. I remember for me, a huge part is just to remember that these schools will not define you, and they do not, set the future for you. You will set the future for those schools, and you will set the future for yourself. So if you're between, like a liberal arts college and then, a top research institution, don't be intimidated not to go to the liberal arts college because you feel the prestige of the institution, because that liberal arts college might be a better fit for you, and it might just, really magnify your potential a lot more than the university if you actually seek it out and you're not too much enticed by the brand name. And I think that requires like a lot of introspection. You should ask yourself, what do I want out of a college? What do I want from my undergraduate experience? What do I want to learn? What do I want to gain? And not so much like, what do I want this school to provide for me? Like, specifically, because I feel once you ask yourself, what is the goal of why I'm going to college? What it is that I'm doing? And then seek out, which colleges can offer those for you. I think it'll maximize your experience, and I think it definitely helped me, especially because, I had some pretty good offers, but I feel like when I did that, I picked Brown, and I have no regrets, where I feel like a lot of students that I know, they picked more prestigious colleges over schools that would have been a better fit for them and are not having a very good time because, it's conflicting with who they are as a person. So don't lose yourself in the process of college. Like, I know that these names will really get to you, but you are great not because you go to these schools, you're great intrinsically as a person. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, something I would say, I was actually talking to someone recently, wherever you decide to go, you might run into a time when you feel like there's no one like you around, that you feel like you're the only person who has your interests, you're the only person who has your background. And while that may be true of you plus 5 other people that you've met, that's not true of you and your whole school. And sometimes it's about really reaching out and finding those people, because sometimes without people that are like you or similar to you, you can feel really lonely. And I know I've met some friends who, before they really got involved in the groups they were in, or like if they're involved with Quest Scholars Network, before they were able to be involved with us, they felt like they were the only person who was low income, first gen, etc. And it's really, sometimes it's about making new friends, but it's also about finding people who are like you, who can relate to you, and who can help you through times that not everyone will understand. And I think that's really valuable to understand, because those kind of people will be the best resources for you wherever you decide to go.
I think understand that you deserve this, that you've gotten this far, and you're meant to be wherever you go. Like, you deserve to be there, and it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. And just be proud of who you are. Yeah, if you are the only one, like, be proud of that and embrace that, and because it's gonna mean something for somebody else. Just keep in mind that you deserve to be there.
All right. Thank you so much to all of our panelists, Christina, Gabe, Haley, Veronica. You guys are really amazing. You had really good advice. I love everything you said, and I know that it will make a big impact on all of our students. If any of you have questions who are watching, email questions@questbridge.org. You should know that email very well. Sorry we didn't get to everyone's questions that you asked on the right-hand side. And thank you so much for watching our Making Your College Choice QuestCast. And best of luck on your college choice and where you go next year. All right. Bye.